All right, guys, we are back. This is Westy, and I'm here with Alex.
You don't know
And
how you don't know how to say my last name, do you? You were gonna
well,
say it
well, I've always said it Olijar, and then the other day you pronounce it differently, and I
for
was
future
like,
reference. It's Olijar. Olijar.
okay, Olijar, good to know. I feel like a terrible friend now.
It's okay. Oh,
Anyway, so here I get a great start, and I start off with Woman at the Well, who is a Samaritan, and I use my Samaritan water jar to set aside the top 9
and
cards of
and
Alex's
this
deck.
was an ugly water jar. As you can see, it's the first turn of the game. Getting your Son of God set aside for basically the rest of the game. Couple good enhancements: Authority of Christ, Matthew, which is a great draw card. 4 Drachma coin and Peter. He's cut into a lot of the drawing that my Disciples deck is going to be using. So, like right from the beginning, I have a huge uphill battles. Especially whenever you're showing a Samaritan, usually those are in pretty aggressive decks that are going to be drawing a lot, and I'm just immediately behind in the race because I can't use cards.
Yes, and in case you don't know, Alex is playing Disciples deck, and it looks like
So,
he's playing Demons. I
yeah,
hit
this is
a
a pure Disciples, and then there's the defense,
oh
but
there is a Claudia in there I see. So
yeah, that's mostly for access to the Abraham's descendants, because I really found that Disciples are just kind of a kind of slow in the late game, and so just adding that extra enhancement back, whatever I need, is really nice. Also, picking up Covenant with Death isn't bad either.
all right. Yeah, and there I was able to pull out the Hopper Lost Soul because the Hopper actually says when drawn, place in your opponent's land of bondage. So because I was searching it out, it goes into my opponent's
Right,
instead of bouncing back and forth.
right, and that was really the only respite I had, is that I thought I wasn't gonna have to block a soul this turn, but Woman at the Well's got a really nice ability: search out a soul in an evil character. Luckily, you searched out the only human in my deck, a damsel with spirit of divination. And as we can see on the screen there, Westy's hand is pretty colorful. Got to draw 5 cards off of this block. Unfortunately, it's also going to win him a soul.
Yeah, I've always flip flopped on whether I should be using Samuel's Edict or not because I only use a couple of Gold Brigade heroes, and Woman at the Well is one of them, and the other one is Moses, and he negates Samuel's Edict. But here, it actually is going to come in handy. I will be able to discard Spirit of Temptation, and then use Angel of the Lord on Damsel.
Right, and I'm actually able to negate the discard now on Spirit of Temptation,
Yes, that
but
is
I
true.
don't really exactly have any negates in this deck, so it's kind of irrelevant. Luckily, I did have that falling away, so he wasn't able to just freely get that soul out. Make him have to work a little bit harder to get his 5. And it's nice to get that really early in the game before there's any chance for Lampstand or Guardian of Your Soul shenanigans to be going on.
Yeah, unfortunately, your lampstand is set aside and not active.
Yeah. Probably the worst part of that set aside, is the fact that I actually had a New Jerusalem in my hand first draw. So I was really ready to go, and it's like looking at my hand, feeling pretty good about it.
If
And
I
right
remember
now you're going
right,
to see.
oh, go ahead.
Oh no, see, I want to show this one because I think this is going to be a pretty interesting play. As you guys can see, Westy has no active artifact, and I'm sort of thinking about whether or not to activate this Captured Arc right now. And this is to set up a future block. There's not very many blocks in my deck, but one of the best enhancements I have is Worshipping Demons, and that will end the battle, cannot be negated, and then if an idol is active, then all lost souls are protected from rescue. And since Captured Arc is an idol, that would get me basically a free block. But unfortunately, it only has it's only allowed to be active for 2 phases, and I don't necessarily want to waste it right now. I lied. I do want to waste it right now, and just to set up for a block. And also, I mean, I'm basically choreographing my block next turn, but at the same time, if he chooses not to attack, then he's basically just wasting a turn.
And there,
Yeah.
yeah, Alex knows I don't have any defense, so I'm just going to have to surrender a Lost Soul. And here, he's actually playing a rather
Harvest Time.
underrated dominant.
This one is very underused, I would say. I've found a place for it in pretty much every speed deck I'm playing. I mean, the way I see it, people complain about Lost Soul Drought all of the time, and then they don't play counter cards. And if I'm going to complain about it, at least I'm playing the counter card. But this also does create the interesting situation where we both actually put our own hopper, the other player's hopper, into their own Land of Redemption. So we've sort of canceled out the effects of the Woman at the Well and Harvest Time with each other. So we're both going to net 8 souls in our Land of Bondage.
One of the greatest advantages to Harvest Time, I think, is it makes DOU a rescue because, I mean, it's probably the most popular evil enhancement in the game. And,
definitely.
Yeah, you can just, after they discard themselves, say, okay, I'm going to search out another Lost Soul, you know? And there, I do decide to play Guardian. I didn't want him to mayhem it back into the deck. There is sometimes good advantages to holding on to useless cards because you can discard it for, like, Confusion of Mind or First Fruits. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah.
But I was more afraid of the
mayhem. At the same time, I think you sort of have to balance that with not wanting to get it put back in your deck because then you're going to draw it again. And if there's nothing worse than drawing Guardian of the Souls after your opponent's played Falling Away, it would be drawing it a second time. Oh, and there you see my cute little Worshipping Demons block. And since I did end the battle, my Legion does die, but it's a small price to pay to stop the soul. And then look at the chat here. We're getting a little bit of a ridiculous draw. I believe that's 4 Lost Souls on 1 3-card draw. So that's just a little bit just silly at this point. Westy's basically going to get to just rescue all the time, whenever he wants for the rest of the game. Which is typically not going to be a recipe for success.
You did get the 2-liner.
I did get the 2-line, so I'm going to be able to delay you for at least a turn. Get myself back in the game. And right now it's 1-0 me with my free rescue last turn with John. That's a pretty good recipe for success. Just powering up with a John, especially in a pure Disciples deck. He's going to have a lot of backup, and he's got a pretty awesome ability where he's negating all evil characters, except Banding. But Banding's not exactly very prevalent in Defense Light.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but do you play TGT in this deck as well?
I do play the Garden Tomb in this deck, and that'll show up a little bit later. There's sort of been some debate out there about whether or not Garden Tomb is good in a pure Disciples deck that's only playing Disciple characters and is not playing like the normal white TGT characters. My opinion is basically that if it can help me win a soul, I should probably play it. And Garden Tomb has done more than enough to justify its playing. Oh, let's see. I just played a Christian Martyr on the Daniel. What am I thinking? Oh, that's right. So right now what's happening is I'm playing a ton of cards down so that I can mayhem. After the first turn where I get a ton of stuff set aside, my strategy is basically to deck out as soon as possible and get that stuff returned to my deck because having a Son of God over there is not going to win me the game right now. So I sort of maybe play mayhem at a less optimal time for myself, in the sense that Westy had, I believe, a 6-card hand. But at this point, it didn't really matter about disrupting him. It was way more about just me drawing an extra 2 cards and just getting through my deck faster. Because if I don't get through my deck, I'm not going to win regardless of what else happens. Yep. Got a Phineas and a Live Coal just going for Revealer, so they're going under the deck.
Mm-hmm. And I was able to redraw Jacob and his companion Angel Under the Oak, so I'm trying to decide here whether I want to activate Covenant with Death or not. It's a great...
What do you say, whatever you said, when you're activating Covenant of Death, though, did you think about the Thomas that's out there at all? Not that it's really going to matter since you don't have any evil in your hand.
Right. It was less about your offense and more about preventing you from playing like Pentecost and things of that nature.
Sure.
But I decided in the long run, Jacob to Moses is the stronger rescue attempt, and the point of the game is to rescue lost souls. So I thought better to focus on the offense than try to disrupt you, especially because I already hit your Son of God with Samaritan Water.
Right, like I'm already disrupted pretty well.
And here
I got a
I'll
wheel
actually be
coming
able
up.
to play wheel within a wheel.
I'm assuming you're going to be getting Angel under the Oak, correct?
I believe so.
I don't see what else you would get. I mean, that's a pretty good combo to pull.
Yeah.
Just a great card out there. Yep.
I don't
Pulling
have
it out
any.
again. This is probably one of the best combos in the game. If you can put your Angel of the Oak back, draw 2 with it on your rescue, put it back into the deck for a judge, typically Moses, and then pull it right back out with wheel upon a wheel. That's just pretty dirty.
It's really incredible when Moses is in your hand, too, because then you get wheel within a wheel and can play it right away.
Play it again. It's just a great deck thinning combo. And right now, I'm just going through my set-aside stuff over there, making sure some cards I'm thinking of, making sure I know exactly what's over there, because I don't really want to make a dumb misplay just because I didn't bother to check what cards were set aside. And then I'm just a little bit of reorganization on my territory, because I'm about to drop, I believe it's 3 or 4 disciples, put them over there in the boat, so I didn't want to get them confused with my set-aside pile for Samaritan Water Jar. And again, this is just sticking with the same strategy of I need to draw cards really, really fast and deck out as soon as I can. So if I put as many disciples as I can over there into the boat, I can put one under next turn and draw however many cards. I can draw 1 card for each disciple that is left in fishing boat.
Yeah, I'm really hurting at this point. I mean, you're up 2-0.
Yeah, there was a little bit of self-debate over who I should rescue with. I was thinking maybe Philip to get Bartholomew out, which is just another card out of my deck, or maybe Simon the Zealot to protect myself from Mayhem. And I ended up deciding to go with Zealot because I figured you sort of knew what my strategy was going to be once I put a ton of people in boat. So if you have Mayhem, you're just going to play it right away. And usually when your opponent draws 5 or 6 cards, it's a pretty good time to play Mayhem.
It's a very good time to play Mayhem.
Yeah.
So I'm still drawing Dead on Evil characters, and doesn't look like this draw is going to help me out any.
Yeah, in your opinion, is this the... I would almost say you're just drawing Dead in general.
Yeah.
Like, your hand is very good. Other than you've gotten the characters out that you need, but there's really no backup at all for them. Then again, there's really not much backup for them at all in the deck because the characters are just so good in and of themselves.
That's true. They can oftentimes win by themselves. But I am trying to just, rescue a lot with Angel Under the Oak to thin my deck out. And so...
Isaiah's Call, just getting another card out of the deck.
The less cards in your deck, the more likely you are to get good cards. And that's always the advantage of...
I know there's a lot of players who maybe wouldn't necessarily play the Call right away because they don't really have a plan to use Isaiah. But if you ever have that thought, I would recommend just playing Call right away, getting Isaiah out of the deck. Because once you draw him, sure, you can place the Call on him, and that's really good. But you really lose the best part of the card, and that's just searching it out of the deck and making your deck a little smaller, having a better chance to draw some dominance.
Right. Well, and also, I'm looking at evil characters at this point because you only need 2 more Lost Souls to win. I don't have either Son of God or New Jerusalem. So that 2-liner Lost Soul is just going to be sitting over there as I drew my Exchanger 1 turn late.
That's sort of the funny part about this game is that I'm really in a huge board disadvantage just from the get-go. But somehow I'm up 3-1 right now. And basically, if you don't draw Son of God New Jerusalem to get rid of that 2-line soul that you have a counter on, you're just really in a bad spot if that doesn't happen.
Thankfully, I can technically win next turn while you cannot.
Right.
So, I mean, I need to draw Son of God New Jerusalem and make a rescue attempt, but, all of yours are set aside, and it's going to be really hard for you.
I think what you're saying is that I can't win this turn because of my Son of God, because I can't win next turn.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Right. And then
I forgot that was your turn.
Right now, again, I'm just sort of going through my fishing boat, trying to decide who I need to rescue with, who I need to put back in there so that I can get ready to draw.
One of the cool combos...
I've also got a pretty...
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. If you've got a combo, go for it.
I was just going to say one of the fun combos that I've always enjoyed with Disciples decks is putting Bartholomew under the deck and then rescuing with Philip and searching him right back out. But unfortunately, you do not have Bartholomew.
Right. Right. Really, my thought process here, I have a Pentecost in my hand, and then I also believe at this time I have the Garden Tomb. So I'm trying to decide if I think you have an evil character or not, or if I should just be safe and go with the Garden Tomb Rescue with John. And that's what I end up doing.
And it was the right play
Probably.
because I do have a block in my
Yeah.
hand.
I mean, granted, and then here, this is a little bit of a misplay where I'm setting aside my Simon here is actually turning off his protection from Mayhem. So really, the entire last turn that I had was basically wasted by setting him aside. So I should have just pulled out a different disciple, moved him over with the Pentecost, and then made the rescue with John. And then I also just add a Claudia to the front of the band. It gives me access to another soul up there, and the female soul. And there's just really no downside, because if there is a martyr, it's just better to be safe, so I can at least continue to make a rescue attempt and see what happens. But, I mean, as we can see from his hand, there's really just nothing happening.
Yeah, with the Garden Tomb out.
So I do have to ask, that Besieging the City is an interesting tech. What's your thoughts on that card in a Type 1? That's usually not seen unless you're playing a Type 2 combo.
Oh, no. Besieging the City is fantastic. I don't know why more people don't play it, because it essentially makes your opponent's next turn an entire waste. They can't draw any cards. Not just during the draw phase. They can't draw any off of Pentecost or anything like that. And also they can't make a rescue attempt. So it's kind of a future block
Sure.
where you sacrifice maybe the rescue this turn, unless you have failed objective, which is a great combo. But next turn, they aren't going to make a rescue attempt, and they aren't going to get any resources. So it essentially puts you one turn ahead. And that can make a big difference.
Sure, I think that's really centered from the philosophy that you want to rescue every single turn. So ideally, in a perfect world, the game should never last longer than 5 turns. And if you set them back a whole turn in that, that's a pretty good deal.
Right. A big thing is being able to go first. If you can get that first lost soul, sometimes that makes all the difference. And with Besieging the City, you kind of can mend that.
And sort of going along with that, what's your thoughts on playing if you're playing a 56 card, what's your 56 card deck, what's your thoughts on playing the 57th card, which is going to be a soul, for a better chance to go first?
It's not actually... Well, okay.
I mean,
57
statistically, you are more likely to go first because you're more likely to draw souls.
Well, in a 57 versus a 56, yes. In a 57 versus a 50, no.
Right, and it's... Which is why I think we'd probably agree it's probably a bad play.
But 57s, I mean, you get the extra dominant too, which it's really just deck dependent. So,
sure. And then right now, you see me playing the Angel of the Lord. I'm thinning my hand out again, just in case of a Mayhem from Westy. I'm just really afraid of putting more cards back into my deck, because if you look down there, I actually have 2 cards in my deck right now, so I'm really close to finally getting this stupid Son of God back into my deck, ready to use. But unfortunately, this is something that I missed. I missed you discarding your whole hand right here. This is actually a really, really good play by Westy that a lot of players would not think of. If you just discard your hand on the Mayhem, he hasn't drawn Son of God New Jerusalem yet, and those are the 2 cards that he needs to win the game. So by discarding his whole hand, he knows he's not going to redraw that stuff that won't help him win.
Right, and
on
right
the Mayhem
now
that he knows he's going to play.
Right now, I have 15 cards left in my deck, so 6. What is that? 6 divided by 15 times 2, or divided by 2. So
I'm not going to do the math on
6 divided by 30.
Yep, here I am, again, just playing a bunch of stuff down, sort of expecting a Mayhem. As you can see, I have a Pentecost over there, and then I also have the fishing boat. So I believe I'm going to be able to draw either 6 or 7 cards, and I have 9 cards set aside. So my odds are pretty good, I'd say.
And here, I kind of had to play the Mayhem now, because, and I'm still not sure if this was the right play or not, the issue was fishing boat activates during the upkeep phase. And so,
right, it's going to activate first.
Right. So if you use that, you get to draw, 5 cards? and that's half your
I
deck.
believe it's 4, but still, it's a pretty good chunk of change.
And
And see,
I can't
it ends up
play
being the right play because he's
Mayhem
gonna.
before you play Son of God. So
Mhm.
it was one of those things I kind of
Right.
had to do it because if
Right.
I play Mayhem
Just in
first
case.
and draw it, which
Well,
is
I
the
mean, you
only
ended up,
thing that will win me the game at this point.
right, and you ended up locking into it anyway.
Right.
It takes me a little bit to realize that he's won the game right now. So I like go through my whole draw, and then I draw Son of God, and then I know I have John or I have Peter in my draw as well. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna win the game, and then Wes is like, well, no, like I already won the game like a minute ago, and you just didn't notice. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh.
RTS said
So,
I
like,
only had 2 in
as
my
you can
Land of
see,
Redemption, but I do have
right,
half of
well,
the 2-liner rescued, so
I
that'll
mean,
count as
well,
2
actually,
plus 1
you're
more.
rescuing the 2-liner right now, and I know you have 2. I just like can't do math or something.
Okay.
So, right, that's not even the issue.
Hey, it's finals
Like,
week.
oh,
We
see,
don't have
look,
to
here I am.
be
Like, oh, I have my
good.
Son of God, and then like, oh. So I mean, as you guys can see, this is a pretty close game. It
Yeah,
really comes
it's
down to this turn right here. Like, if Westy isn't able to draw that off the Mayhem, like I'm probably going to win, barring a
you
complete.
definitely win because I mean the problem is it's almost a case of dominant slapjack where I play Mayhem and we both have the stuff to win the game.
Right,
And
but
because
at
I
the same
played
time,
Mayhem last, I got the first chance to play it. But
mhm.
yeah,
At
that's
the
the
same
game.
time, like I think, uh, crap, what was I saying? I had this really good thought, and now I don't remember it because you were talking. Ugh, it's disappointing. I mean, I think that okay, right. I was probably gonna win, but I was gonna have to be very careful on my rescue because, as you guys can see up
You
there,
have
there's actually 3 limiting souls, and if I rescue with anything involving Claudia, Westy can just give me the female only soul, and then I can't play Son of God on the NT or the Star 4 soul.
or you could just play Son of God on the female only lost soul and get to 5
I,
because you already
I
have
could.
4 lost souls rescued.
You have the falling away over there. I'm sorry. I'm
Oh,
talking.
that's right.
I'm
That's right.
talking about as if you play the falling
Yeah,
away for
the
something.
falling
You know,
away actually would have made a difference
right. That
had I
would
not
really
drawn Son of God New Jerusalem.
right. Yeah, it forces me to make another rescue attempt and maybe make that mental mistake of accidentally rescuing the female
Actually,
soul.
you had the exchanger, so I think you would have noticed it.
Right. There's like a lot of variables here, and that's one of those things where if you're going for a really important rescue attempt like that, just make sure you're accounting for all the variables before you declare a battle, and then at that point you're pretty much stuck with whatever you did, and sometimes that's just less than optimal.
Right. Well, we are to the end of the video, by the way, so we should probably wrap
Yeah.
this up. I'll have to throw some cool stuff on screen so that they get the rest of our chat. But
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we're giving them some important information. At least I hope we are. And guys, thanks for tuning in again.
yeah, guys, hopefully see you next time. Next time we should have Alex's hand recorded, and the Skype call will be out of the way. So
Sure.
we are
I
going to
think
try to improve here. We do have a deck profile that is in the works, should be finished on Friday, and then we just have to record commentary for it. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff in the works. Excited
you think
about.
we should spoil which deck it is? Maybe they want to know.
I don't know. I think we should keep it a surprise.
Keep it a secret. Maybe they can just vote on which deck it is. Can't be that hard to make a deck profile. Gosh.
Yeah, I spent a good couple hours on that.
We don't want to waste all your work. So, guys, make sure you tune back in next couple days. We'll hope to get that up for you and surprise you with a secret deck.
All right, guys. See you next time.
See ya.